Okay, so welcome to this video where I'm gonna be talking about pain in different ways: physical, metaphysical, practical, different ways. And I'm gonna be, first of all, catching up with the past months, what's been happening before I start discussing the topic. What I noticed in the past months is creative exhaustion and digital exhaustion as well. Not just by me, but by also other creators on YouTube. And I have a lot of specific YouTube channels that I watch. Also, I no longer watch YouTube as much as I did before. So not just creative, but also consumption on the YouTube platform. And my YouTube watch later playlist is growing and growing. I think I'm just gonna delete it because there's hundreds of videos that I haven't watched and I don't know when I'm gonna watch, or some of those videos they clicked in the moment where I pressed watch later, but now no longer. So yeah, we change, and this is a big tangent, by the way, because the video today is going to be a long one. And yeah, I also stopped using ChatGPT as much as I used to. For instance, I used to use it hourly almost. Whenever I had a question, I would use it. Now I would say that I use it once every 2 days, once every week. So yeah, this is a thing that I've noticed in the collective, not just me, but as it was happening to me, then I started noticing it in the collective. So it's a vice versa thing. I have some notes here because it's a long topic and I'm reading from my phone the things that I should mention. And yeah, so if you notice that I'm a bit unmotivated when speaking, I'm on my 6th day of a 7-day water fast, which is the modern way of restoring your system, I believe, because yeah, there's some positive studies about it, but just recently I noticed, or I found out, that in Islam, and ChatGPT told me that I didn't need to research much, but when I asked ChatGPT if it's allowed in Islam, since in Islam there's a way to fast, and if this way is also considered, or not, at least not talked about in Islam. Well, ChatGPT said that the Prophet said that it's not a way to fast, that it's better to fast one day and one day not, instead of fasting 7 days only water. But hey, maybe that's something that I should consider in the future. Now I'm on the 6th day. I'm gonna stop by tomorrow, and then I can figure out that later. Big tangent. I'm gonna put a timeline if people wanna skip it. Now let's talk about pain and things related to pain. So I'm gonna bring a anecdote from childhood, which is when I was in primary school, a child, and I was over curious with this lady that was sitting next to me in primary school. So the teacher would choose who would sit with which person. And as I was sitting with that person, sometimes I would be over curious and ask some questions. And there was a very brutal way of telling me mind your own business, which was mind the side that hurts you, mind your own pain. No, but it's actually in my own language, mind the side that hurts you. And I wouldn't be bringing that example if I didn't have a positive memory from this lady. So, big tangent again. But after high school, we were teenagers now, and an incident happened in school where there was a guy with a donkey who was passing by school, and we as teenagers, we followed him, which frustrated him until the point where he was cornered somewhere. And then, as I was the first person following him, this lady came in between us like a movie or something, and she was like, yeah, so I don't know if I mentioned, but he was about to whip me with the thing he uses for his donkey because he was so frustrated, and because I was the first person there. And this lady shows up out of nowhere, and out of the bunch of us that were following the dude, and she's like, are you crazy, you wanna hit a kid, blah blah blah. I wasn't listening to what she was saying, but I just remember the person standing like those movies between me and the guy that was about to whip me. And so I have a positive memory about that person. So yeah, all this tangent to say that scrolling, which is a big thing in today's age, so social media is inevitable, and we find ourselves scrolling when sometimes pain is trying to tell us something. So instead of scrolling again, maybe you should listen to your pain. Maybe it's trying to tell you that this place is hurting, or this place, and by listening to it you will get insights. Now let's move on into another experience that I had just recently related to athleticism, where I would be overtraining some days and binge eating. It's a cycle, and I overtrain, not only relying on the motivation within, if I can say so, but using things like music sometimes. And it's an external motivator that would, yes, make you perform better and break records, but then it wasn't coming from within. So it's not ideal. It's preferred to, if you love to train and do sports, to do it without external motivators. That's what I want to say. And so this pattern of overtraining and then binge eating, overeating, eating more than I would usually eat if I wasn't training, because training should be replenishing you, not making you binge eat high fructose or high processed foods. And I mentioned fructose right now, but we're gonna talk about it later. So again, this cycle and pattern would make me start to have ideas of how much of a loser I am, or if I should have done this, and why this thing didn't happen. And yeah, it's a cycle. And I didn't realize that after those trainings, the main thing that was resulting in my thoughts to be negative that way is the overtraining followed by the binge eating. So bad food, bad thoughts, that should have been obvious, but that's the result of not listening to the pain, is that you continue in a cycle like that. And so is it a dark night of the soul, or is it the big meal that you ate 1 hour before sleeping? Maybe it's the big meal, big pizza that you were eating, and now your digestive system, which is your first brain, is having a big trouble. And suffering is when you add a story to the physical pain. So having physical pain on its own is not an issue. Like in the training itself, you can be having pain, but you don't associate some story into it, just like the ones that I was telling you about, the negative thoughts and beliefs. You don't be doing that during training, even though there's pain. But once you're sitting on your own and you're having to listen to the pain, then these thoughts start happening. But what you should take from them is, instead of having a suffering narrative, instead you should try to locate the pain. So we're going to get into that later also. And just as an illustration of how much the diet is influencing the way you think, is that ketogenic diet, which is a diet that's been very popular in the recent decades, is a diet, and I've already mentioned this on this channel, is that it was invented in the beginning of the 1920s, if I remember, and it was made for treating epilepsy. So epilepsy is about brain electric surges, and so just how much influencing is your diet on the way your brain operates is something to be considered. So yeah, and you add into that the reason in this old allegory, I think, this story, which maybe it's real, maybe it's not, but the reason we were kicked out of heaven is because of food. So maybe we shouldn't be having, or it's unnatural to have this much food, not to mention the processed foods and so on, because they definitely influence the way we think. Also, in order to be in a good state, and since we're talking about the athletic side, you need good air, good water, and good food. Right now I'm in my 6th day of the fast, and I can say that if I only had good air and good water, that I would be able to fast much longer. So, when talking spiritually, you have water and air. These two, out of the three that I mentioned, these two have no calories in them. They're free of calories. Like 1 liter of water has no calories, so is the air. But food is like fuel. It has calories. And an athletic lifestyle might induce a more fueling of the body, which means more energy. So if you look the origins of fuel oil for the cars and so on, you might find that it has very close origins like food and plants and so on. And so more calories, more energy, so you're going to be having emotions. And these emotions, again, we did a big turn, but they shouldn't be linked to a negative narrative. So if you've ever seen a nervous system, which is something that I do a lot on this channel, nervous system picture, yeah, like this. So there's a lot of similarity between this and the roots of a tree. And again, spiritually, as above so below, there's a lot of similarities between us and plants. But if you consider this to be the plant's roots, then what would be the soil of the plant? It would be your body, your physical body. And I've heard this repeated many times in the Islamic book, which is the Quran, and it's stated that we were created from mold, something like that. And so good soil equal good plant, good tree, good roots. You can't have a good tree if the soil is bad. And the same way, our physical body is a very advanced, or at least different, type of soil for our nervous system to be able to operate in. It requires different things than a plant, and so you take care of your physical body. So good physical body equal good nervous system, and then you're happy. What else? One way to deal with physical pain, which is not as practical, it's the same as the placebo thing, which means that your thoughts influence you, the state of your being. So one of the tricks is to simply, where is it? Locate the pain, and then if you wanna even make it a step further, you make a deal with that place that's making you pain. So sometimes spotting the pain where it's coming from is enough to stop it. Like migraine, there's YouTube videos that tell you how to stop migraine. And one of the things is if you can spot where in your head there's migraine, then it can stop. But if you want to take it a step further again, you can make a deal with that place. Say you have knee pain. So a deal that you can make with that knee pain is you locate it and then you talk to it as if it understands. Maybe you can talk to it mentally, but you can even speak to it with your voice and say something like, okay, so I recognize that there's pain in this spot. If it continues after this training or after this job that I have to do, then I'm going to be going to the doctor. So that's a deal that you make. And if indeed it continues after, you be sticking to your word and doing the right thing. And you'd be surprised how smart some of your limbs, if you are able to spot the pain, where it's coming from, how smart those limbs are, and organs. For instance, and again, this is with analogy or comparison with plants, but there is studies made on plants on how they can spot the entrance of a person that used to harm them, like remove their leaves or something. As soon as the person enters the room, the plant enters in a vibration similar to screaming or being in fear, and in contradiction with that, the person who waters them and gives them love. So this is to say that your organs and your limbs and so on, they are smart. They understand much more than we would usually give them props. So yeah, what else did I want to talk about? Yeah, so I think that this is a very popular movie, and I watched it when I was a kid. The idea from it is, don't judge a book by its cover. That this guy, which is a bit chubby, ended up becoming the winner out of all of these. There was also another one, this one I guess, yeah, this one, who ended up becoming the Kung Fu master. And so health is not a physical thing. If you're feeling good in your body, then that's about it. If you enjoy training, however, then you can train, but let's stop associating a healthy person with being more fit and more slim and so on. Alright, and so once you start becoming more aware of your pain and doing diagnosis, the simplest thing is to just talk to ChatGPT about it, and it's going to be, you're going to reach a point where it's like having chess with negative thoughts. So the more you heal your body in different way and you consider the physical pain that you have in it, the more negative thoughts will find a weak link to attach to and anchor into. And so, yes, in this entire conversation, I framed it as if pain is only linked to physical things that could be solved physically, but yeah, it's also mental, and we're going to get into that aspect as well. But so if you consider yourself that you are going through something painful once in a while, let's say once in every 6 days, and you, with this caring about yourself, and again with ChatGPT discovering ways of becoming more healthy and so on, if you are able to reduce that pain once in every 2 weeks, once in every month, then that's progress. Like, there's always going to be pain at some point. That's why I said that it's a chess with negative thoughts, that they're going to show you that there's a weak link that you can further take care of. And also know that that pain is transient. The suffering, again, is linking a story with that pain, a narrative. And it's not a 50-50. Like, it's not life is 50% pain, 50% bliss. The rule of polarity doesn't work that way. The pendulum swings more towards a side than the other, so the good things can be experienced more positively. Like, you can experience bliss 100% or 100 times more than pain, and that's what you gotta have in mind in those hard experiences of pain. So yeah, masters try to stabilize their vibrations, which again link to what I said in the beginning of the video. The athletic working out and so on should be done from within. That's the perfect way. If you don't wanna be exhausted very quickly in your athletic performance, then that's the better way, is to train with the inspiration that's coming from within. And so yeah, there's a metaphor that I wanna mention as well, which is a case for why we should not escape pain again. So horses, they run on their forefoot. They're like belly dancers. So they don't run like we humans do run, or most of us. They run in their forefoot, and so they have very delicate foot when it comes to the choice of ground they run into. My city is the capital of horses simply because we have, like, one of the reasons is because we have beaches, we have proximity to the sea and soft sand where horses can run very fast. But yeah, the horse feet are very delicate, and sometimes if they get hurt or they get injured in their feet, it can end a very expensive horse career, like the horses that cost 100k, something like that. It can be ended by simply injuring its feet. And so whilst there is inflammation, and I didn't want to go into that rabbit hole of what is the difference between inflammation and pain, but whilst there's inflammation, then there's still hope for that horse to be healed. That inflammation, which is a negative experience, is at the same time healing the horse. But the moment the inflammation stops and the horse hasn't healed, and yeah, the inflammation stopped, but he still can't perform the move where he was injured, the move that he wants to perform, then one procedure is, and I know that this exists in many ways, but one procedure is to brand the horse with fire in order to reignite the inflammation in that area, and hopefully the horse will heal. So yeah, it's quite a thing. You might think that you would need ice in order to heal the horse, because cold baths are very popular thing, but inflammation and fire is actually the main healing element out of the four. That's what I believe. So each element has its own properties. I believe that fire out of water and air and earth, fire is the healing element. Yeah, now we're gonna move to another part, which is the thoughts and how they influence your state of being, how concepts influence your state of being. So there's an obvious one, because again I made it as if physical pain and physical damage is the only way you can receive pain, and that thoughts have no influence over you. It's true in a way. Like, it's like if you really consider that a thought is what's bringing you pain, it would be similar to saying that telekinesis is the ability to move physical objects in reality with the power of your mind. While that's possible, it requires prowess. So it's as if you're saying that a concept is poking you. That could be possible, but again, if you don't believe in telekinesis, then you can't say that this concept is what causing you pain. Maybe you could say that the concept of losing your money or having your money stolen is what's causing you pain, and that's a very valid thing. But know that that pain that you are experiencing is something that it's in your DNA. One of your ancestors have experienced being stolen something, and they later on experienced pain. Maybe their food was stolen and they experienced pain in a entire winter with no food, something like that. So it's a very anchored pain that you are feeling. It's something that you ought to transmute or pass. It's going to pass, yeah. And coping with the loss of a relative or a close one. There's a meme. The dog just died.
Kevin, your dog just died.
So if you want to watch this video, there's a lot of dudes who will be told a random thing by the guy there, and they're supposed to make a pause after he says something, and that was the reaction of your dog just died. I don't know if reacting emotionally towards the loss of a human relative that's close to you is possible. But what I know, and I've seen this in multiple cases, is that when you get into a certain state of mind, that the person you lost will appear in another person. The moment you reach a certain state of mind, that person that you lost, you will find it in another person. That's what I'm saying. And it can be hard, but actually it's not hard, it's just how quickly you reach that point. If you want to dwell in the state of grief, you can, but it's not desirable, and you will find again a person that is similar to the one that you've lost by shifting the state of your mind. And it can drive you into insanity if you do that, but what if it solves your pain? So yeah, we are juggling between physical and metaphysical thoughts and practical things. Not thoughts and practical things. What would be the equivalent of thoughts in the physical realm? Emotions? So this is where I get lost, is when there is more than two things to oppose. It's simpler when there's two things to oppose, but when there's three things and four and five to explain a concept, then it's as if I'm learning the thing by heart, which I never excelled at. I prefer contrasting so that it's easier to understand the thing. Either way, another thing that I wanted to also mention is phantom limb therapy, which relates a bit to the state of mind you get in order to see a relative that you've lost in someone else in the future. And as you can see, this is a legitimate therapy that people who lost a limb, so this isn't joking, this is real stuff, like real physical pain. And you can see how the mind can feel suited after such a therapy. Yeah, and one last thing I want to mention about pain is there's a lot of on YouTube, since I watch mainly YouTube, but a lot of parents blaming for past education, raising up, and I wanna say that orphans, they didn't get a chance to blame their traumas and to their parents, which is why orphans get a lot of highlight in the Islamic religion. So I'm putting pain into Google, and there's a Naruto character that is showing up, and that's how you know you made a very popular anime, which I didn't watch. Yeah, orphans didn't get the chance to blame their parents, and even though they feel pain in their, let's say, 20s or 30s, they don't have that privilege of saying, oh, my parents caused this on me. No. Can you imagine that? It's like you don't even have a person to blame. That's what orphans' pains is like. So by helping orphans, maybe you who have trouble with your parents can help deal with the pain or the traumas that your parents caused you. I'm just saying. Okay, and the last part, and I'm glad that the videos are still recording because we're 15 minutes and it did stop recording the first time. So Ouroboros, this is a dragon that I've seen in somewhere, and as you can see, it's biting its own tail. Still on the theme of pain, but it's not just having pain inflicted on him, he's at the same time inflicting pain on himself. And as I am someone that played a lot of video games related to portals, I can see how this is a kind of portal. Like, it's a ring, but a ring can be a portal. That was a game that I've played a lot of in my youth, Sonic Rider. You have a skateboard and you play Sonic. And there is portals in it. Sonic, yeah. So even now, as I haven't played this game in a long time, I still have the experience of crossing a portal. But yeah, this is a portal of incarnation. I haven't read this Wikipedia, but I've read some things in here, and yeah, early alchemical Ouroboros illustration with the word "the all is one" from the work of Cleopatra the alchemist, Greek alchemist. Yeah, in the 10th century. And so what does the all is one have to do with the dragon biting its tail? Is that pain is inevitable and that boredom as well. So if this dragon wasn't bored, I don't think that he would be biting his own tail. But so one thing again about pain, and we've talked about a lot of concepts. I told you this is going to be a very long video. So one of the takes that one can have, and I definitely had that in my teenager years, is that pain exists and children are suffering. Therefore, God must be bad. So I wasn't 100% believing in God, but even in the event of Him existing, then why is there suffering? And the spiritual explanation to that example of a lamb that will just be born to be devoured by a lion, for instance. That example, as well as the example of the worm, that is very powerless. The spiritual explanation of this phenomena is reincarnation, that the lamb or the worm is going to have a cycle of life that is where it's going to be a creature with powers unimaginable to us humans, and that's the cycle of life and incarnation. And if you read this Wikipedia page, I'm sure there's a part where they talk about the cycle of life in relation to a dragon biting its tail. Okay, so in talking about pain, pain is also linked to karma, because say you've wronged someone and they won't be getting their right back in this lifetime. Say you or me or whatever. That's the idea that I want to be stating in this point, is that okay, let me talk in terms of person A and person B. So say that person A wronged person B. Now person B didn't get its right in this current lifetime, and that in the reincarnation of person B, the person A is also reincarnated. But is it person A really person A, or is it simply a projection of the person B? What I mean is it similar to the individuals you see in your lucid dreams or your dreams? Is it really person A or just a projection, even though it's another lifetime? And the answer is it's always you. It has always been you. And when you understand that, you would wish, as hard as it is to say and to accept, that if karma didn't happen at all, because it's all you pushed out. That's what this statement is saying. The all is one. And so the final statement on top of the all is one is we're here to expand our window of tolerance, of pain tolerance, not to seek it nor to escape it. We're here to expand our window of pain tolerance. And that way, nothing can hurt you. So yeah, that was the video for today. It's a 1 hour recording, and yeah, the next video is going to be about I've seen them in my dreams, which I said I'm going to do as well. So yeah, I hope you've learned something from the video, and thank you for watching. See you on the next one.